There's no shortage of step-by-step tutorials on how to create neon out there on the googly web, so instead of walking through the mundane task of creating the neon part of a sign, I thought it might be more beneficial to provide you with some tips on making neon more believable. Now, I'm not going to skip out entirely on the step-by-step process. I'm actually going to do you one better. I've recorded a Photoshop action that's going to walk you through the process of creating neon. This action will enable you to spend more time on that believable part. So check out the video, download the action, and use it to create some neon. For this project, I'm going to take the Wacom logo and mock up a neon sign for our new break room. You can create neon from text or a graphic. Just keep in mind that neon is made up of glass tubes, so your source needs to resemble them two-dimensionally. In my case, I had to round the ends of the letters that make up the Wacom logo to make them appropriate for a neon sign. So with our logo prepped for neon, I'm going to select all and copy it and then paste it over to the background that we're going to create our neon. Now I've got a brick wall here. You can use black or some other type of dark surface, but I really like the look of neon against a brick wall, so that's what we're going to go with. I'm going to go ahead and paste the logo that we just copied over to our brick wall, and you can see that as black, it's probably not going to make a very good neon. So what we're going to do is hold down Command or Control and tap on that new layer icon. And we're going to fill this with something a little bit more appropriate for neon, and I like this purple here. So let's go ahead and then paste that. I'm going to Option or Alt Delete to fill that selection with my foreground color. And now we've got the basis of our neon. Now, as I mentioned before, you can create neon using a layer style, but rather than go through all the individual steps to create that neon, instead I've written an action that's going to give you a pretty nice looking neon with just a little bit of instruction. So once the action is installed, you'll find it in the Actions palette. In this case, I've called it Neon Glow. And by the way, this is a set right here. There's only one action within the set, but if you see Neon Glow twice, that's what you're looking at. You've got the folder, and then you've got the actual action right below it. So with it selected, I'm going to go ahead and click Play, and I'll walk you through what this action does. Now, when you first run this action, if you've never separated layer styles from a layer before, you're going to get this message in just a moment. So this is just a note for you here. Some aspects of effects cannot be reproduced with layers. Go ahead and disregard this. Simply click Don't Show Again, and then click OK when you see it. So I'm going to click Continue, and there's our message. I'm going to click Don't Show Again, and then OK. The next dialog box you're going to see is going to give you some instruction here. You're going to be presented with a layer style dialog box. Inner glow is going to be selected, and what you want to do is you want to select a color that is slightly darker than your original color, than this purple here. So I'm going to go ahead and click Continue, and that layer style dialog box appears. I'm going to click on the little white box here, and I'm going to select something that's a little bit darker there, and I've selected kind of that color right there. That actually looks pretty good, but I'm going to select something just a little bit darker so that it's more apparent. And I'll go ahead and click OK, and then close the layer style dialog box. Once again, you're going to be presented with a dialog box that says what you're going to do in the next step. Again, you're going to be presented with the layer style dialog box. What you want to do is you want to set a color for your outer glow. So again, clicking on Continue, I'm going to click on the little white box there, and then I'm going to select this time a color that is slightly lighter than the original color. And we're just going to select something like right up there. That gives me a nice glow in the background. And once again, I'll go ahead and click OK. When I click OK to close the layer style dialog box, it's going to run through the rest of the steps within the action to create that neon glow. And that's a pretty good looking neon right out of the box. Now, of course, there's things that you can do to make it look a little bit more believable, and I'm going to run through those in just a second. But I did want to point out that I selected slightly darker and slightly lighter colors for the inner and outer glow. I invite you to experiment with those colors. Again, different color neons are going to reproduce differently when you select those colors. So go ahead and experiment, and you can see it update real time within that layer style dialog box. So see what you can come up with. With the neon part of our sign created, these 5 tips should help you make your neon more believable. Check your references. Take a look at some authentic neon signs. Look closely at how the craftsmen bend the glass tubes. Take note of how the sections are joined to one another. And look especially at what's going on in the background, the frame, the wires, etc. These elements, however subtle, can make or break your look. Neon signs don't levitate. Cheap and cheesy neon effects appear to float in midair. Don't settle for a neon effect alone. Neon tubes are typically attached to pegs to make them stand off a wall or other surface, and more often than not, those pegs are affixed to a frame. Be sure to angle the pegs in the frame in perspective so that they look real. Wire it up. Single color neon signs are commonly made of a continuous tube with numerous bends. These tubes are then filled with various gases and electrified by inserting electrodes in the end of the tubes. The electrodes are then connected to a transformer, basically a box, and when voltage is applied to those electrodes through the transformer, you get that neon glow. So make sure you add the mechanics to make your neon glow. Also note, portions of tubes are sometimes painted black to appear as if they are separate segments. This is kind of a trick to give the appearance of numerous tubes joined together. Be sure to join your letters at their ends with blacked out tubes. Embrace the irregularities of neon. The colors that make up a neon sign are determined by the types of glass tubing that are used and the composition of the gases that fill them. Over time, these gases disperse and permeate the glass, making them fade in color. Additionally, changes in voltage can affect the intensity of the glow. Embrace them. Brush on highlights and shadows to your tubes to show discoloration, especially at the joints where tubes overlap. Make your sign stand out. Your neon should be the center of attention. Darken the color of the wall or surface that it's mounted to. And additionally, pay close attention to the depth of field. That is, your neon should appear sharper than the surface behind it, so consider blurring the background slightly so as to not compete with your sign. So there you go. I hope these 5 tips, along with the action that I created for you, inspire you to create your next neon sign.